The liturgies of the Ascension of the Lord and the seventh Sunday of Easter both have to do with going beyond, with transcending the reality of the here and the now, and with moving on to a realm both qualitatively and patently different from current mundane experience. They both speak of the ultimate reasons and foundations of our earthly hope, the glorification of the risen Lord, a promise and foretaste of what God in His love and wisdom also has assured us in His Son, Jesus Christ. Yes, the fact that God mounts His throne to shouts of joy, and that the Lord is King, the Most High over all the earth, ought to make us pause in hope and in avid expectation of the Lord's promises to all who love Him. The Lord's rising, His ascending into heaven, His sending of the Holy Spirit to be our advocate, all these and more ought to lift not only our minds but our whole being to what all of creation waits in eager longing. All of creation, all of God's creatures, never forget what we heard over the past 3 weeks, the vision of a new heavens and a new earth. Never forget what the Lord has assured us over and over again. Behold, I make all things new. No matter where we find ourselves in whatever hemisphere we happen to live in, whether in the affluent and wasteful first world or in depressed and developing third world, all of us long for this newness, for this freshness deep down things, for the total renewal that goes beyond mere cosmetic and shallow changes in all aspects of our personal and social lives. We long for newness that extends beyond a change of leadership, or one that makes economic and financial affluence or security alone sound so shallow, if not hollow. We know deep inside our hearts that there is more to life than just getting what most people spend so much more of their time and energy for. We want more than just a big beautiful house, a fleet of nice cars, mere popularity, the trimmings and wrappings of earthly power and fame. Surely on both sides of the Pacific, in the Philippines and in the US in this election year, the electorate shows or has shown and still shows the changing value systems that seem to point happily toward this evangelical and biblical newness that stands out of the liturgy in these recent weeks. In the Philippines, the bitter pre-election battles, fought less by honorable statesmen and more by seasoned traditional politicians who hide behind their puppets of a candidate, have shown all too clearly the need for a massive change of heart, a renewal with regard to the way we as a people envision and live democracy. Sadly, the electorate from both the enlightened and less enlightened camps have seen once more how selfishness and greed and naked ambition can make people throw all semblance of morality out the window, of opportunism and raw manipulation, capitalizing on poverty and ignorance as stepping stones toward power, wealth, and influence. On both sides of the Pacific, people are realizing that strong rhetoric alone and histrionic denunciations of massive cheating alone don't make for a credible high moral grounding on which to base one's bet to being catapulted into power. People are looking for a new politics of sincerity, for a new form of governance based on concrete acts that uplift society, especially those who are part of the least, the lost, the lowest, and the lost. At a time when everything seems to be politicized, when even moral principles become a matter for both parties to take sides in, when the voice of moral reasoning and moral reflection gets drowned out by partisan politics, people are waking up to the reality that elections are not just simply a matter of rooting for a candidate of a party, but something that ought to be elevated beyond the realm of shallow partisanship. People begin to realize that listening to the voice of objective morality does not necessarily have to follow the lines of two or more parties locked in an epic struggle for supremacy. In other words, people are realizing that the choice between life and abortion, between war and peace is not something that ought to be tied to the rhetorics of a particular candidate running in the name of a particular party. The reason is simple. Moral issues are just that, moral issues, not political issues. There is enough food for thought for everyone here. Paul's letter to the Ephesians puts it well. May the eyes of your hearts be enlightened, that you may know what is the hope that belongs to his call, what are the riches of glory in his inheritance among the holy ones, and what is the surpassing greatness of his power for us who believe, in accord with the exercise of his great might. As if to clench the call to newness, the second reading from Revelation of the seventh Sunday liturgy tells us, "Blessed are they who wash their robes so as to have the right to the tree of life and enter the city through its gates." Referring to the New Jerusalem we spoke of last week, the believer is exhorted by John to follow the Lamb wherever he goes. I see changes taking place in our times. I see hope like the distant rays of a rising sun, breaking out of the shadowy peaks yet enveloped in darkness, but which contains a certain promise that cannot be thwarted by the lowering clouds of turbulence and thunderstorms, despite the disappointing turn of our national and local politics. For as sure as the sun will eventually shine, so will the dawning of God's salvation, the coming of his kingdom, amidst his chosen and beloved people. Today, Jesus prays for us, a prayer that is at one and the same time a promise. "And I have given them the glory you gave me, so that they may be one as we are one, I in them and you in me, that they may be brought to perfection as one, that the world may know that you sent me, and that you love them even as you loved me." Is there ever a more compelling reason than this for us to keep on hoping and setting our sights on things that are above? This is your Kalakbayat Katoto saying thank you and God bless you.